Two questions. One, when you started to write the book, did you know what the ending was going to be? And two, when you started to write the book, what gave you the persistence to keep on writing? I know there must have been times when you wondered if you should even go on.
What was the first question again?
Did you know the ending?
Yes, okay. I knew how I wanted it to end. I imagined that in my head, and I didn't quite know how exactly I was going to get there. But I did know how I wanted it to end. And then as far as persistence goes, it was kind of strange. My youngest daughter, who many of you know, my daughter Allie, she was a competitive soccer player for many years. And so my life revolved around going to work and taking her to soccer and doing whatever those kinds of things related to soccer. And I was just very busy. And so when I sat down and wrote it, it was because I just had a tremendous amount of time on my hand that I did not have any idea what to do with. For the first time in my life, I was someone with nothing to do. And so I sat down and I wrote it, and I did not really stop for 5 months. I mean, I was always thinking about it, and I never really hit a snag during that time that I can recall. I can't really, and we went away on vacation. We went on a cruise for a week, and I remember I was happy to be on the cruise and happy to be on vacation, but I was a little bummed out because I had to stop writing, and didn't bring my stuff with me on purpose because I wanted to be on vacation. But when I got back, maybe it took me an extra week to get back into it, but that was kind of a forced snag. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah. I haven't read the book yet, just got it. But I'm just wondering, Scout, you're taking that name, were you inspired from another book?
You think?
I'm assuming you did. I'm assuming you did, but I didn't want to assume. And so if it does come from Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, is there any character resemblance that you kept in your character? Did you take some of that bits and pieces from that Harper Lee's character and transition it over into your book, or is she a totally different personality?
I think there's some things that are similar to Scout Finch. Scout Finch, as you all should know, and if you don't, shame on you, was the narrator for Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. And I made Scout Webb, my character, a tomboy, like Scout Finch was. She's Southern, like Scout Finch was. She comes from a family who is traditional, but at the time, from what I understand, I did not grow up here, but from what I understand is 1980s here in North Carolina was still very racist. And I made her come from a family that was not. I didn't really harp on that very much in the book, but I wanted it clear that her mother grew up during Jim Crow, and her mother was the kind of person during that time who did things to tick off her own mother by like drinking from colored water fountains and having friends that were black people and that kind of a thing. And so that kind of mentality was brought into my character, that she didn't necessarily, I mean, you think like everybody else, but you don't think like everybody else about some things. Mm-hmm. And so I tried to make her a girl of her times, but also a girl who was a little beyond her times. And I mean, I used the time, I mean, my book doesn't really have anything to do with To Kill a Mockingbird, except that the main character's name is Scout. But that's a part of her identity. When you name your child after a major literary character like that, that carries with it a burden, whether you intend it to or not. And so that was part of Scout's story, is that she's named after this literary character who's beloved. And it's hard to separate yourself from that kind of a legacy to carry when you have that name. And her mom thought she's doing her a great favor. And maybe she was. I mean, I think it would be cool to be named after Scout. I think that's a cool name. But it does bring with it a certain set of identity. Yeah. That is, I mean, part of Scout's identity was her faith, her Southern Baptist faith. And, that carries with it a lot of burden. So if you fail you know, you're not just failing yourself, you're failing your parents, you're failing your pastor, you're failing the church members, you're failing God himself. And so, you know, some people take that extra hard. And some people blow it off and just, oh, I failed, forgive me, Lord. You know, and other people take that a lot differently. And so that was part, I mean, I did make Scout somewhat a little bit like Scout Finch, but I think Scout Finch was probably a little bit more of a spitfire than my Scout is.